to get things kicked off, we are going to start with a team that has 5 wins, 3 draws, and only 4 losses. The ACL Fighting Ulsan Hyundai.
Yeah, so Ulsan Hyundai, they've had a slow league start. It's a run that saw them lose their first 5 games and only score in the 5th game. It took a while for them to get going, but to counteract that, they were doing very well in the Champions League in the group stages. So while the Champions League was going on, the league form suffered a bit. However, they're getting better now, and since that 5th game, they're unbeaten. They've also been, like I said, they're now in the Champions League round of 16. They've got 1 foot possibly in the quarter-final. They've got a difficult away trip in the second leg to the Big Bird. But they've still got a few similar problems. They rarely score many unless they're up on an Australian side. Hello, Melbourne. And, yeah.
Or Brisbane.
Or Brisbane. Hello, Brisbane.
They put 6 on Brisbane last year.
But they look defensively sound. Key player, now I always say Orsid, so I'm just going to say somebody else. Because I honestly think they've got some really good players here, and some other people need the spotlight, and I think that spotlight should go to Richard Wimbichler. He was a really good central defender last season, and this season he's been playing more as a defensive midfielder role, which suits him well because he likes to take the ball up the pitch, and he's perfect at covering this defence. So I think he's been playing really well, and he was a great signing last season. He's become a better player this year. Biggest question, can they balance multiple commitments? So now they've got the group stages out of the way, perhaps they can, but it depends if they make it to the quarter-finals and how far they want to go in the FA Cup. Do they want to defend it? Transfer wish list, well, the 2 biggest signings might be players returning from injury. They've got Striker Junior and Lee Jong-ho both coming back in the summer, which would be great for fans of celebrations everywhere. And it should add some competition to Toyota. I'd also say reason to watch. Well, they're more entertaining than last season. There's a lot more promise there. They've got the signings are gelling. They've got an impressive stadium that's in desperate need of more support. Make yourselves one of them.
Yeah, they're a pretty fun team this year.
Yeah, I quietly enjoyed watching them this year, and I think they're getting better each passing week.
Especially when Lee Jong-ho gets back.
But if you're a Sun Bluing fan, then you will probably not want to look at Richard Wimbichler again, because he was the guy that has broken Yom Ki-yoon's ribs.
He's a tough tackler.
He's a tough tackler, yeah.
But he's
it didn't look that bad when I first saw it, but in slow motion, it was pretty bad, yeah.
We'll touch
Get
on
well
that
soon, Yom Ki-yoon, because I'm sure you're
yes.
watching.
Oh my goodness. Yes. That's... Anyway.
Yes.
Moving on to a team with an identical record, but just a few more goals scored. We have Sangju Samu, who have 5 wins, 3 draws, and 4 losses, and Matt's going to take them again.
Well, this reads the same as Ulsan. They had a slow start, and they got 7 points in their first 7, but they've now picked up, and they've got 11 in their last 5, so they're doing quite well. After being down to the bare bones in the playoffs last year, but surviving, the new recruits have gelled and they've got quite a strong midfield now. Key player, again, it's tempting to go for Joo Min-kyu, but he's actually not been part of proceedings too much this season. He scored once in each of his first 3 games and then nothing since. I've actually put Shim Dong-un. I've watched Shim Dong-un from Pohang Steelers. He's joined in the winter. And he's been playing well. I've enjoyed watching him, and his stock has been rising at Sangju. Biggest question is, can they survive the autumn exodus? It's the same thing every season, but what makes this different? Well, first of all, players always leave in the autumn, so Joo Min-kyu will be going back to Elan. But what makes it different this year is Sangju have got it together, and they're bringing in fresh recruits in the summer. Not only have they got Incheon's attacking midfielder Song Shu, the super sub who just scores in the last minutes of games and breaks hearts. They've got Kim Gun-hee from Suwon Blue Wings up front as well. But what is more impressive is they've taken defenders from the teams below them. They've taken Kwon Wan-kyu from Pohang, and they've also taken 3 Jeonnam defenders in Ko Tae-won, Kim Kyung-jae and Park Dae-han. So taking defenders from the teams that they're going to be in relegation scraps with. I like your thinking, Sangju. Reason to watch. Well, after playing their first 10 matches away from home due to a regional sports festival, they're back in Sangju. So, yeah, if for groundhoppers, book yourself a summer holiday. They're going to be there for a while. If you're a local, well, you're going to get yourself settled, get yourself a seat. With additional players coming in the summer, and also, it must be noticed, Sangju are registered for ACL qualification this season.
Hey.
The push is on. If they qualify, it'd be certainly it's certainly worth watching to see how far they would go. They've got a cracking team, and I really think that you should be tuning into them.
The Army team in ACL would be amazing.
Yeah.
Also worth noting, you touched on this, but they're back home, and they are home for all but like 5 games
The next
for the
7,
rest of the season.
The next 7 are at home, and then they go away to Johnnam, and then back home for a spell as well. So
yeah, they only have, I think, 5 away games until the league splits. It's insane.
It's been impressive how well they've done, because I said myself that I was worried for them because they were away for the first 10. I think it was. It was 10.
Yeah, first 10 games, and if they...
I mean, you disagree, thinking that it wasn't that much of an issue. When it's proven. Well, I think you said that Sangju. I mean,
it doesn't matter because they've got no fans at home,
right? Yeah, no, you said that, and then you've proven to be right, because they're been away from home and now they're flying high. So. Yeah. Fair play to Sangju.
I've really... They're a team on the up, and their reinforcements, like I said, taken from the teams below them. That's an astute move, and I think that could really pay off come end of season.
Speaking of teams that are peaking of late, that started a bit slow, not to steal anything from you there, Paul. We have JG United, who have 6 wins, just 2 draws, and 4 losses, and Paul's going to run you through that.
They've got into this position because they've slowly started to gel. I think their new signings didn't really improve the squad. I don't think. Last year they had a good squad. The 2 new boys, the 2 new foreigners, I should say, Thiago and Robertson, haven't really found their feet yet. It's taken a bit of time for them to adapt to the K-League, which is understandable. These things happen. Also, Magno Cruz has spent too much time on the bench. He's their best player. He should always start. But they are in a good position, though. So right now, things are looking quite rosy for them. Maybe now they're out of the ACL, that might bode well for them. I'll mix up with the order here. Biggest question will be, no ACL, is that a blessing in disguise? Because now they haven't got that to worry about. And then going back again, their key player, for me, it's got to be Magno Cruz. I love Lee Chang-min. I think he's superb.
Yeah.
But if he's creating chances and there's no one to put them away, what's the point? Magno Cruz, he's only got 3 goals this year, and they all came in the same game. Yeah. He scored the hat-trick against Gangwon, and they still lost. But he has to start. He's their best player. He scored 13 last year, mostly from the wing. Mm-hmm. So he's their best player. Reason to watch. Jeju have got a good spine of a team. Mm-hmm. They've got a good keeper, Lee Chang-gun. They've got Oban Sok, he's a solid central defender. Lee Chang-min is a good creative midfield player. Yu Sung-yu is slowly starting to show the kind of form that took him to Europe. And they've got Magno Cruz. So they're in the mix now as well to sort of get back in the ACL next season. They're slowly starting to get things together. Transfer wish list. Well, they need another striker to play alongside Magno Cruz. Now they have Jin Sung-uk, who's a typical number 9, but he doesn't have enough goals in his game. And that worries me.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, Jeju, if results go right, are just 1 win away from being right.
They always seem to be that one win away, in my opinion. But we'll wait to the season review.
It's a fair point. Moving on to a team that also has 6 wins, but 3 draws and 3 losses. The ACL fighting Suwon Samsung Blue Wings. They got here by having an outstanding form away from home. This is an ACL as well, but in the league, 4 of their wins have been away from home, of 6 games away, and only 2 wins at home. They've had some really brilliant individual play that have got them within touching distance of the title, but unfortunately, everything that seemed to be ramping up to that moment, they were 7 points behind Jeonbuk, and manager So Jung-won put out what was largely a B-side against Jeonbuk, and things have been going downhill since then. It has been a mess since then. Since that game, none of the lineups have really felt right. Things have been a bit jumbled. It's been a bit chaotic. That was only a little over 2 weeks ago, but Suwon is quickly seeing their entire season collapse because of these odd personnel decisions that just don't seem to be going right, and with so many injuries, especially with Yeom Ki-hoon now out, it's going to be very interesting to see which players can step up and fill those gaps. Which brings us to their key player. Unsurprisingly, Daeon is the man that comes to mind because he has been huge for them in ACL. He scored 6 goals for them already in that competition, and he scored the game winner over in Japan to get them top of the group to move on. They will be looking to him midweek this week for ACL, but also in the league, he might need to do a bit more there. He has 2 goals in the league and hasn't been the difference maker that they might want him to be there, but a lot of that has to do with so many games in so many days. The biggest question is, for me, is So Jung-won going to start figuring this out? He continually plays the 3-4-3, even though it doesn't seem like it's working. He can't get his personnel decisions right. On his day, he is a brilliant, brilliant manager. But when he is off his game slightly, the whole team suffers. Which is why in the transfer window, they need another striker.
We'll count that. We'll let that in.
Maybe Jonathan, but as Matt noted, Kim Gun-hee is on the way out.
So
they don't have a lot of options.
They can have Jonathan, but they've got to get rid of a foreigner, haven't they? So.
Park Ki-dong's also injured as well.
Yeah. So Park Ki-dong's injured. Kim Gun-hee is on the way out. So essentially you have Daeon alone playing double game weeks for now through eternity.
So Jung-won came out earlier this week and made comments saying that Jonathan is in regular touch with the team. He's always contacting them and...
A loan deal.
Who knows? But anyway...
Maybe.
But they need to find space on their foreigner quota.
They would. Yeah, so. They definitely would. So, moving up into the top 3... Surprisingly, they are still here, and it's great. We have Gangnam FC, who have 6 wins, 3 draws, and 3 losses. They got here by playing attacking football. They attack. They have 19 goals, which is only good enough for 3rd in the league, but it's not necessarily indicative of how they play. This is a team that lives and dies moving forward. On a counterattack, usually. They will almost always concede possession, but that is strictly so they can hit on the break. This is a team that has goals in mind first. The key player for them in all of this obviously has been Marcao, who was the MVP of K-League Challenge last year, K2. And it seemed like coming into the offseason he had a ton of options to move. It seemed like maybe he wouldn't be able to make the jump up and a move away would have been wise. Instead, he decided to stay, bagged a hat trick in his first game in K1, and continued to score. Went cold for about 5 games, but he scored 3 in as many matches of late. Looks like he's found his rhythm again, and is all of the 196 centimeters you would expect him to be as a target striker, but also is extremely calm on the ball and doesn't usually opt for power. I think with a player of that size, you would usually expect him to just be powering it past keepers. He has a really good eye and picks out the corners with a really deft touch really well. Really fun player to watch. The biggest question for them, though, speaking of Marcao, is can they find a plan B? This is a team that moves forward on the wings and lobs into the middle to Marcao. They live and die out on those wings, and right now teams know that, and those that are good enough to exploit it have exploited it heavily. Mainly when we were in Suwon for round 9 for the match of the week, we saw Suwon just completely shut down Gangnam's plan A, and it was a very thorough beating that night. So for the transfer wish list, I have a center back down for them, or possibly a central defensive midfielder, somebody to step in front of that back line and shield them and be that first line of defense before it gets to the goalkeeper. Reason to watch, they're fun. They're a fun team to watch.
Right.
I think, Matthew, you should be sponsored by Bisto. Save the best to last.
So
always
moving up to the top of the table again.
Can we have somebody else do this different? Anybody do this team.
All right, let's let him do his thing. Shocking to the viewers at home, in first place with 10 wins, just 1 draw, and 1 loss is Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors.
So Jeonbuk got here by winning mostly. But what has been impressive, though, is that Jeonbuk have managed to keep up their goal-scoring antics despite a ridiculous schedule. Also, Ulsan and Suwon have the same schedule, admittedly, but they've somehow managed to better the defence. Last year, Jeonbuk won the league by scoring 73 and conceding 35, which was better than 2016. But this season, after 12 rounds, they've already scored 23 and they've conceded just 5. 3 of those in one match. So let's not talk about that one, though. Key player, I always say EJ Sung, but today, with differing things up, new bunker, new players, I'm saying Kim Min Jae.
Not the
He's been Kim Min Jae has been an amazing influence, but watching him walk off against Daegu in round 11 was actually heartbreaking. He is set to go to the World Cup. He's only recently turned 21, and he's been sublime in both for John Book in the league and in the Champions League. And he's not been bad at national team level as well, although you would find some detractors. The defence looks far shakier without him. He's so integral, and it's so impressive how integral he is at such a young age. And hopefully he'll get well soon for the World Cup. The biggest question is, can they keep this momentum? And this is not just because they're playing well and they're fighting on all fronts, but they've got the World Cup. The World Cup isn't necessarily a break for John Book. They've got 6 or 7 players expected to go to this World Cup, and that means they won't be getting time to rest. They should have enough. They've had enough so far. They've managed to deal with so many injuries. They should be okay, but who knows? We've got FA Cup coming after the break, and they may or may not be in the Champions League. We still don't know at this moment. Transfer wish list. Well, John Book don't really need anyone, but what I would like to see them do is use their Asian player quota. There's some great talent coming out of Southeast Asia right now, and I'd love for John Book to be getting in on that, because John Book is one of the more marketable clubs in the K-League. They do well in the Champions League. They could really make a dent in Asia, getting support across there. And if I was choosing one, I'd choose a winger, because I don't think Thiago has been up to scratch yet.
Matthew Binns trying to steal my own heart, going after Southeast Asian players for the champions.
I didn't give you a reason to watch.
Do you need one?
I've just said, they keep winning. And they play good. They play good football. They play, despite the football, the long ball stereotype, they actually play some quite nice football. The stadium is a belter. Crowd noise is audible, which is always good in K-League. They also have big players.
Is that the bar we're setting?
Well, it's one of the few stadiums where all of the fans get in on the goal celebration.
It's one of those ones where
fan participation all around the stadium.
But I think that happens in Seoul as well. But the thing is, with Seoul, the noise seems to disappear. I don't know. I've never found a good seat.
The noise is drowned out by the speakers.
Yeah. So anyway,
if you work at Sangnam and you're watching, please turn down the volume on your speakers just a little. Just a little.
You can see what I've done now anyway. I've saved me 10 seconds from Daegu and Sangju, and I've added it on there at the end.
Anyway,
so everything's even.
Anyway, that's it for K1 through 12 rounds. Again, every team has played each other at least once. A few teams have played each other twice, but not too many. So along with that, before we get into the questions, I did see that we had some more come in. Please keep those coming in right now. But we would like to make ourselves look a little bit foolish first, and this is pretty much unintelligible garble for you at home, because I know you can't read all of these. But these are our table predictions.
I mean, I got the table.
I'm not looking at it. I don't want to.
These are our table predictions from the beginning of the season. I will fall on the sword, and I will tell you first that my predictions were Incheon in 12th. I'm going to just go in reverse order. We've got Incheon, Jeonnam, Sangju. That one's looking terrible. Gyeongnam in 9th. Ryan's looking like a genius. Daegu, FC Seoul. Feel confident about that one. Gangwon, Pohang, Jeju, Suwon, Ulsan in 2nd. Come on, Tigers. I need you to help me out here. And not surprisingly, we've got Jeonbuk in the lead. That was my preseason prediction. Matt, yours?
So I've gone for Jeonnam Dragons in 12th.
Ooh, boo.
I've gone for Sangju in 11th, who are now 5th. I've gone for Incheon in 10th, who are 11th. So I've got Daegu above Incheon, who are 12th. Gyeongnam 8th, but I did choose Gyeongnam higher than these two gentlemen, so give me some credit, please. I said FC Seoul 7th, which looked generous until a week ago. Pohang Steelers 6th. Well, who knows? The season seems to have fallen out, but they can come back. Gangwon 5th, well, that's about where they are. Jeju 4th, well, okay. Ulsan 3rd, I reckon Ulsan's form could see them there still. Suwon 2nd, I don't look too bad there. And Jeonbuk 1st, I'm telepathic.
Yep. Nailed it. And Paul, your league table prediction?
I think we can skip this.
You don't want to...
Alright, okay, let me have a look. I predicted that Sangju would be in 12th. They are 5th. I predicted, out of spite, actually, I'll admit this, it was because you predicted Daejeon to be bottom of the K2.
And luckily for both of us, we are wrong.
But I'm not that far off, because they're 10th.
For now.
Gyeongnam, I got that badly wrong. I'll admit that one. They are second. Incheon, though, I gave them a little bit too much credit for their abilities. They are obviously now 11th. Daegu are bottom. I said they'd be 8th. I thought Andre would get more out of the players that he has at his disposal. Gangwon 7th. Nailed it. That's a victory for me. Pohang, I said they would be 6th. They're actually 8th. Now, this is where it gets a bit silly. Well, not really, but Jeju, I said 5th. They're 4th. That's not bad. This is where it gets silly. This was more hopeful than anything else. I think I was trying to say Seoul would be 4th just because I was trying to be positive about the fact that I'm the new Seoul columnist. Seoul are 9th.
4th has just tripped up everything.
Yeah, Seoul are 9th. And deservedly so. Ulsan, I said they would be in 3rd at this point. They're 6th, but they're on the up. Suwon, 2nd, but they're 3rd. And then after that, there's some team that play in green that are annoyingly good.
I heard they're decent.
I heard they're just annoyingly good. So that one would. You could ask anybody who's seen one K-League game and then just say, where would you think Dumbo finished?
I was going to say, like, we haven't planned for this, but if you could choose one of these and you were going to move it.
Yeah.
Because it might still happen. It's only a third of the season. It might still happen. Let's not say that it's that wrong. Jeonnam can still finish 12. If you can move one team out of your league into a different position where you think they're going to be end of the season, which one would you go for?
Well, I think the obvious answer for all of us should be Gyeongnam because we all have them in the bottom of the table. But at the same time, we're only a third of the way through the season, and that's one of the interesting things about Gyeongnam moving forward is that now every team has played them once. So what's it going to look like this second time through? What's it going to look like the third time through? Again, because Gyeongnam doesn't really do well with a plan B. So are they going to be found out enough to drop them that far down the table? So far, they've been proven all of that wrong. But I think that's going to be really interesting to watch. So my gut is telling me that I should say Gyeongnam, but my heart is telling me that I have the Dragons too low in this table. And I should move them up to 10.
Listen to your head. Listen to your head, but yeah, 10th is realistic.
I want to move them up to 9th. I'm going to move the Dragons to 9th. That's what I would do. I'm not going to reshuffle the whole thing.
For me personally, Sangju. I think because I hadn't expected Sangju to do the summer recruit call up. Now there'll still be some bedding in time. They will still be losing some key players in autumn, but considering they've got a lot of players here for the duration of the season, I think they can finish top half. So I'm going to move them to 6th. I think Sangju they're a dark horse in this.
I'm going to make it interesting because you said top 6. Who are you bumping out?
Oh, I'm just going to move on to 6 and everybody goes down a peg.
Oh,
yeah. I know that says Gyeongnam down to 9th, but still a long season yet. We've said only can move one. We can only move one.
That moves Seoul down to 8th in Mr. Bin's bracket.
I mean, that's still better than what they are now.
Yeah.
Well, you've already said Gyeongnam. So
I did.
And you've said Sangju, so I'm not going to choose those two.
Technically, my answer was Jeonnam.
True, but you touched on Gyeongnam, so I'm going to say Seoul. And put them first. No. So I'll put Seoul in 6th instead, and bump everybody else up a place. So
6th though, they're gonna.
I think they'll still
finish above the line.
I think they will. Yeah.
All right.
I think they will.
And to be clear, this is our table prediction for when the league splits. So after 33 rounds, in case you don't know, the league is going to split into the top 6 who will play each other once, and that's the championship round, and the bottom 6 who will play each other once, and that's the relegation round. And that's where this prediction is. Other than that, I feel okay. I feel okay about this. We'll revisit this again 2/3 of the way through the season.
It's going to get worse and worse.
And at the end of the season, we're going to take a look.
Or maybe we can update it with our one move.
Well, nope.
No,
it's not what's going to happen. And before we get to the questions, who was your golden boot? Yeah, who was your golden boot winner?
I forgot what I said.
I forgot. I think I said it was Adriano, which still isn't a bad shout, apart from the fact that Lee Dong-guk is the top scorer for Jeonbuk this season. I mean, Lee Dong-guk might even be my comeback. I don't know how, but he might be my comeback player of the year just because he's been that good. But yeah, I said Adriano, which still doesn't look a bad shout at the moment, but he isn't getting the game time that he deserves.
I forgot who I said, actually. Did I say Thiago? Did I say Thiago?
I think you did. It was a Jeonbuk player.
The fact that I chose Kim Shin-wook, so
I know
the
you
fact
did.
that we all chose Jeonbuk players might show that it wasn't wise to pick a player where they're going to be splitting goals.
Yeah, I mean, last year, John Book never really have a player at the top. Never had a player at the top for a few seasons. We should have seen that coming, to be honest.
So, long story short, we don't know absolutely everything, but we know some things. All right, so before we get out of here, I did see some questions coming in.
Oh, yes. So
seems
I'm
we had
going
a
to
few questions come in.
try and order these in a different way here. So we'll keep Scott's first one about John Book until the end.
Okay.
John Christian, hi John. He says Jeju is the best stadium in Korea.
Oh.
I haven't been and I want to.
Yeah.
So,
you know what? Going back to the
Flights
kits,
to Jeju.
if you want to support a K-League United trip to Jeju,
right.
buy one of these lovely things, and then we can do it.
As long as the deals are cheap for the flights, that.
Yeah, as long as you buy all of the ones that we have left and the deals are cheap,
Then we can
do
fly to
it.
Jeju.
Then we can do it.
So we had E-Bombs. His wasn't really a question, but he thinks Jeju is getting better.
They are.
Jeju is definitely getting better.
They are getting better,
And you touched on it when you had them. It was the same thing for them last year. Getting rid of ACL. I think they are an ACL-worthy team. They haven't turned the corner yet there. And every single year, when they get that ACL burden off of their back, they start playing way better in the league. My hope is that this year they can maintain that. Because last year they had a bit of an up and down.
They did.
And
But they still finished second last year. I
Yeah.
don't think they'll do that this year, but I still think they will be within a shout of getting in the ACL again.
Yeah.
But it's if they can keep that spine on the team that I talked about, then there's scope for this team to grow into itself because it doesn't. You can't just become an ACL giant overnight. These things don't happen overnight. So with Jeju, I like Jeju, and I do think that they are getting better because they've got that burden off their back.
yeah.
I know. I'd
So
agree
agreed
with
there.
that.
Yeah.
Moving up to third, we've got 2-1. So we've got Scott saying Sojung-won, sorry. I can't read my handwriting. Sojung-won, does he deserve to still be in his job?
Right now, yeah. I mean, they're fighting an ACL. They're towards the top of the table. To me, the better question is, should he have been re-signed to a 2-year contract when he was? And my answer to that would have been no. Would I sack him now? No. Would I have re-signed him for a 2-year contract then? No.
If you'd have asked us this question 2 weeks ago, I would have said yes.
Yeah.
But the mistakes that he made in Jeonju, which Scott obviously he knows all about, that was a ridiculous team selection. He made a right mess of that.
I still can't fathom the logic.
To me, if you're gonna rest players, you rest them for that Ulsan midweek league game, not Jeonju.
Plus, you don't want to give Ulsan your team formation when you're versing them in the
Right.
Champions League.
Well, exactly.
Right.
If you go to Jeonju against Jeonbuk, you got a chance to narrow the gap. That's when you play your strongest team. If you're worried about the following game, then the Ulsan League game, that's when you rest players. He got that wrong, and this past week has been a bit of a disaster for Suwon.
It's just all been a hangover from it.
I just don't. I will stand by this. I don't think he's tactically very astute. I think he's a good man manager. I've heard that he's good with the players one on one. Tactically, I'm not so sure. In terms of getting sacked, then unless they suddenly drop out the top 4 or 5, then it'd be hard to really justify him getting a sack. But they are still second. Sorry, third. They were second. They're third now. So, and there's still a long way to go. So, if he can, now that he's got a decision to make about who replaces Yom Ki-hoon, I know that there's only a few games left for the World Cup. He should be fit after the World Cup.
You think Up's going to fill that?
Yeah, but there's reason to suggest that he hasn't performed as well as we would hoped that he would. Scott is been quite vocal in that sense,
and rightly
that he hasn't really been that good. But the thing is, that front three changes all the time.
Yeah,
and you can't develop an understanding as a front three when it always changes week to week. I mean, Dayan is more or less a mainstay unless they need to rest him. But on that left or right wing, you call it a wing, it's a different player over the week.
Yeah.
So how is Im Sang-hyuk, who's a new player to the team and to the league, how is he supposed to develop an understanding with the players?
That speaks to the manager.
Well,
so if he finally switches to a 4-4-2 and allows Daeon to play with a shadow striker, keep him.
Mm-hmm.
But as you said, So's not going anywhere.
No.
He's not going anywhere.
Okay, so moving on, we're going up to Gyeongnam in second. We've got two questions in here. So first from Ibom Su, he was talking about his player of the year. He thinks is actually not Mark, he thinks it's Ngueba, and I would actually possibly agree with him. I've seen Ngueba play quite a few times, and he without him, Gyeongnam don't look as threatening.
I agree and I disagree.
Okay.
I think because we've been lucky enough to cover Gyeongnam for quite a few of the Worldwide Live matches, and that's been my charge a couple of times. So I've been watching them a lot, and we've seen them. We've all watched them quite a bit this year. I think Negiba, we need to study our Portuguese. I'm not exactly sure how we should be saying his name, but he and Kunimoto have done well on the wings. My thing with Negiba, with him is that he has arguably the best dribbling skills at pace in the league. He's amazing running at players. He is far too selfish for a winger, though. I think if he made the pass or shot on his own instead of taking an extra touch, I think he would be a next level player for them right now. He creates wonderfully, but I think his decision making in the final third is letting him and the team down a little too
which
often.
is why I like the fella on the other side, Kunimoto.
Yeah, Kunimoto has been...
He's been superb.
Yeah.
And the goal of his assist and Markow's goal at the weekend with a nice little cross and a diving header kind of summed up the way that Gyeongnam play and the way that those two play in particular. So you're right just to disagree the fact that Gyeongnam have got more than one good player, which is, for them, that's fantastic.
Well,
so,
I think all of the players that we've mentioned have all been foreign signings, and I think that's a hat tip to Gyeongnam for doing really well, because all three of these guys didn't really have a lot going on before Gyeongnam went and got them, and now they're all doing really well for a really exciting attack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was also in from Luca Che. He was asking, what do we think for Gyeongnam's final prediction? We've kind of touched on it, but just to give ourselves a position.
I'll make it easy on all of us. Championship round or relegation round?
Relegation. I think it's a great start, but I think older heads are gonna, like the clubs like even like Seoul. I had to swallow my pride there, but I think like clubs like Ulsan and Suwon, they're gonna just, and Sangju, they're gonna just start turning the screw. And I think Yeongnam, once they've been found out, they're gonna be seventh. I'm going to be honest, though, if they finish in the relegation round, they'll beat everybody.
That brings me to what I was going to say.
I think they probably won't reach the relegation round.
They
won't reach the championship round.
They'll either be a Gangwon or a Pohang from last year. So it depends what you want to see. Obviously, finishing in the top half will be fantastic for them, but you might have to suffer some defeats for the last 5 rounds, and they have struggled against the top teams.
Yes.
But then again, if they finish 7th, they'll be playing against the bottom half of the table, and they will do what Pohang did last year and win most of those games. So I think they'll finish 7th. All in all,
I'm going to side on the side of attacking football and say that this attack first mentality, playing fun moving forward football is going to work. They'll finish in the top 6.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's
either way,
it's so
fantastic.
It's so close.
Either way, the fact that we're not talking about them being relegated in their first season back up since 2014 says a lot about that team, because they didn't build the way that you would expect a team to build after getting promoted. And again, full credit to that backroom staff. They have done some amazing recruiting and player management.
Yeah,
hats off to them.
So we've got 2 more about John Book. We're going to just do these very quickly. One is about John Book, and one is just both are from Scott Whitelock, our own Scott Whitelock. Cheers, Scott. He wants to first know, are Paul and Ryan using couple cups?
Kinda, yes. You want to explain, Ryan?
I don't think we need to. That's
nope.
And tongue-in-cheek, firmly from Scott here, with John Buck's guaranteed expulsion from the Champions League for only sending 3 substitutes.
Well, actually, you know what? We're going to get banned from Facebook because there's space on this bench here.
I mean, there's table.
There's someone who
table
sits right there.
space here.
So before we get into too many in-jokes, okay, so there's been some criticism from some quarters that John Buck, they only took 3 substitutes to Thailand and they eventually lost 3-2 to Buriram midweek. It makes it a possible tricky second leg, but John Buck are at home, so they've got 2 away goals. They may still have the advantage. But there's been a lot of criticism saying John Buck haven't respected the competition or the team by doing this. But as the John Buck columnist, I'll just say that I think that you have a squad for a reason. And it's up to the manager how you manage that squad. Now, John Buck haven't disrespected it in terms of the personnel they sent.
No.
I think that they sent their best team and they disrespected the K-League, if anything, by fielding a weakened one. So I'm waiting for the K-League to expel John Buck for fielding a weakened side against Jeonnam. I think there is a ruling in the Champions League. I've had a look, I've researched it. It's Statute 3.3.4. And it says that a club in the Champions League should always play their strongest team. But the thing is, what about all those dead rubbers where Ulsan went to Brisbane last season and they're both through? You know, what about all of these? What about all the J League teams that sent Cerezo Osaka went over? All of them should be banned. You've got evidence for about 5 years. Everyone should be banned. John Buck sent a strong 11. They chose 3 substitutes because they have a lot of injuries at the moment. They have a tight schedule, and to be honest, I find the whole conversation ridiculous.
Show me a team outside of China, okay, the Chinese teams that are still fighting, that wouldn't happily take Adriano, Kim Shin-wook, EJ Sung, and Lopez in their starting 11.
The first 11 was I mean, they had a midfielder playing centre half, but
I mean,
it was still a very, very strong.
By the rationale
11.
of this argument, if the 3 of us put on that kit and sat on the bench, then we're not having this conversation. It's absurd.
Yeah.
They absolutely respect this competition.
And it must be said that
it's what they said they want to go for this year.
Yeah.
This is John Buck's aim. John Buck will win the league. They're already. I think they
win the ACL as well.
Well, I think they. Well,
but this to suggest that John Buck have anything but respect for this competition that they clearly want to win again for the second time.
Well, they didn't have the chance to defend it for whatever reason, so they are determined to win. Anyway, it again.
It's a stupid. It was. I think it's not fair. I think, but it's ridiculous. I think. John Buck have stated several times they want to win everything. Jay Kang said he wants the FA Cup as well this year. They haven't won that for a long time. He wants the treble. He wants everything, and to just knock it for one match where he didn't take all the subs is ridiculous.
But to fill in all the dots, it's an interesting conversation. It's one that I'm happy to see happening mainly on Twitter right now, which has been started by the Asian Game, which is a great podcast. They tweeted out about that earlier today. They are covering everything on this continent right now. It's a good listen. They started this conversation. We clearly don't agree, but it's been a conversation that's been centered around K-League, and it's been nice to see John Buck push to the forefront, whether or not we agree why they're there, and also if they go out and smash Buriram midweek, this conversation is null and void.
Well, if they win more than one trophy, then you can point to if they win the league and they win the Champions League, who they might not, but if they did both, then you can point to this was squad management back then, and it'll be seen as a clever move by Jay Kang. I think, but there are obviously detractors on the other side. A lot of people think
disagree.
And so that's fair enough if you disagree. But
if you disagree, leave a comment below.
Yeah, well, what do you think? Do you think that disrespecting a competition by fielding your weaker team to balance commitments in other ones is fair?
Also, should be said that there's extenuating circumstances right now with the World Cup coming up. K-League has had an insane schedule, but as was pointed out on Twitter, so have teams in China and so have teams in Japan. But I personally don't see a problem with the team doing something that's completely legal within the rules, as you pointed out, any other team could do.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, moving on.
If you want to get in on that, hop on Twitter. It's probably still a thread that's going on.
Still burning slowly.
It's still just smoldering.
It doesn't end.
You could reignite that fire. Anyway,
no, please don't.
We're about to get out of here. So before we do, though, going back to our partnership with K-League, we have been highlighting the Worldwide Live Match of the Week. If you don't know what that is, That means that you, anywhere in the world, can watch one K1 game absolutely for free on the K-League website. This week we have the very exciting Gangnam FC that we spent quite a bit of time talking about. They are very fun moving forward. And we also have Ulsan Hyundai, who is on the up right now, another fun team to watch. They will likely be balancing things with ACL, so we'll see how that goes. But I think this is going to be a fun game.
Yeah, I think
agree.
And Ulsan have been doing really well in the league. The only worry is with Ulsan, with other commitments, they've got Suwon, a big game with Suwon next week. Right. How they'll approach this, but it's two teams both vying for the high positions in the league.
Ulsan will be buoyed by the win over Suwon in the ACL, and then they won't have the chance to field a weakened team because they know how strong Gangnam have been.
Right.
So,
and Gangnam doesn't have that trouble, so they're going to be fielding a strong team. So
absolutely.
And the last time they played, it was 0-0, and these teams are not happy about that.
It will not finish 0-0.
Don't see that happening again this weekend.
It will not finish 0-0.
If you're interested in this one, the preview is on kleague.com. You can read it over there, and that's also where you can watch the game this Sunday. Again, it should be a fun one. Absolutely free in HD. Thanks, Mike Huju. So that'll be a fun one. And just to remind you, we do have a World Cup tournament coming up soon at Retro Game Bar. June 2nd, where they are going to cry with England losing to the United States.
Oh, come on.
It's going to be interesting. So if you want to participate in that, head over to the website, kleagueunited.com, and you'll see it there. There are a few more comments coming in. We'll try to touch on those after because we need to get out of here for right now. We will be back much sooner than the 3-month hiatus that we took to move bunkers last time. So any thoughts, questions, comments, reactions, get them in the comments below, and we will definitely touch on them next time. And I'm going to put Paul in charge of very unawkwardly turning off the camera.
Oh, we still haven't fixed this part of the bunker, have we?
Yeah, we need to find a way. If you know how to turn this off remotely, let us know. Anyway, good evening.
Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.